Okay. Hi, nobodies. I started this earlier, but I had a Facebook call to take. Some people, they just know exactly when to show up, mess up your flow. So I was saying today was a good day. I took the trash out and I found a frog. We have lots of frogs in Arkansas. Um, and you hear them at night, big time, but I rarely actually see one. So I picked him up and put him in both of my hands, and I came in the house and I got all the kids to come look. And I was like, look, it's a frog. And Tyrion says, it's a toad. And I said, no, it's a frog. Look at his feet. And then I was like, touch his back. Tyrion would not touch him. Gavin come over like it was going to be like some kind of zapping frog, like by touching it. I'm like, I would not tell my kid to touch something that's going to hurt them. I'm just not. I'm not that person. Now, I am the kind of mom that'll throw a worm at her kid. I have done that. I did that to Tyrion and to Isabel. Isabel completely lost her shit that day over being hit with a worm. It was the last time I threw anything at her. I don't think I've ever thrown a worm at Gavin, but Gavin is always really like scared of things, when I show him, like, here's a millipede, here's a roly-poly, or a woodlouse, or a pill bug, whatever you want to call him. He's like terrified. He doesn't want to touch it. And it's like, I would never tell any kid, hey, come look at this, and because I ain't touch like a centipede. I ain't touching that sucker. I'm scared of centipedes and scorpions and stuff. So by no means am I going to say to a kid, go ahead and touch this. I remember being little and thinking that bees and wasps were electric. I honestly thought that they were electric, and that anywhere you touch them on their body was going to hurt you. And this one day, I was at the neighbor's house, the neighbors whose last name was actually Neighbors, and there was this like truck camper shell, and me and the boy that was my age, Michael, we were in this camper shell, and there was a dead wasp in there, and he touched it, and I was like, don't touch it, it'll sting you. I must have been about 4 or 5, but he touched it and it didn't sting him. And I was like, oh, okay, the electricity's dead. So I went to touch it, and of course I touch it on the stinger, dumbass. And it still took me a while. It wasn't until I got to school that I learned about stingers and stuff, because I was like, he's immune to the electricity. They also used to have on their trailer, I guess their trailer wasn't grounded or something, so there was like metal that would come out the end of it, and if you happen to hit that, you get shocked. So, and sometimes I'd go over there just for shits and giggles and touch it. But anyway, I would not do that to a kid. I might show them a dead wasp and tell them, okay, here's the stinger. I might actually explain, a dead bee, or a wasp, like how it works, because I know that I thought it was electric. Like it would zap you no matter where you touched it. And I've done that with other kids. I've been like, hey, look at this. Just stuff that I found digging in the garden or what have you. But like I said, I won't touch scorpions or centipedes or anything that looks like that I don't know what it is. I'm not messing with it. But Gavin always acts like something's just gonna get him. Like he's scared of skinks and lizards and apparently frogs and toads and everything. And Izzy just doesn't care. And Tyrion is kind of like, oh, I see it. She'll watch. But she's not much for catching them either. and I'm just looking at my son like, you're a boy. You're supposed to like these boy things. So now I've gone on 5 minutes about this, okay? That's only part of my good day. I drove myself to the library, which is outside of the safe zone. And when I say safe zone, I'm talking about an area that I am comfortable with, which has now pretty much extended to about 2 miles radius from my house. After that, it's touch and go. So it wasn't easy to get to the library for me. I could feel like water sitting on my stomach because I always drink water when I'm having anxiety because everything else just makes me feel sick. Water's the only thing I can drink, and my throat will get really, really dry. And people will also notice when they're with me and I'm having an anxiety attack, I don't vape either. Like, I will not touch a vape or a cigarette. And I used to do it with cigarettes too. I wouldn't smoke while I was having an anxiety attack. It just didn't work for me. I need cold air hitting my face, going up my nose, and water, ice water. It has to be ice water because regular water, it's just not going to do it for me. It has to be ice water. So I made it there and I started to come home, and I had thought about going to see Humphrey, my normal route. And I was like, no, I think I'll just go home. And I got to where I could turn down my street, and I said, you know what? I'm going to go see Humphrey, my camel, who's not my camel, but I call him my camel, and I've named him Humphrey now. So I saw the goats, and then I saw Humphrey. He was chilling. I expected him to be like sitting by his pond, but he was actually standing out in the sunshine. And I looked in the rear view, and there was somebody behind me because I was like, today I'm going to get a picture of Humphrey because Humphrey makes me happy. When I see him, he makes me happy. It makes it so much easier to drive too. And while I was driving to the library, like, one of the things that I had started doing was, trying to like see things, like, not, I'm basically trying to dissociate while I'm driving because I know that I can dissociate and still operate a vehicle. And if my mind is floating, like if I'm just the eyeballs in my head, then I can't feel anxious. So that was one of my strategies today was well, I mean, it's normally my strategy, but today I said, you know what? I'm actually dissociating, sort of, to just be like seeing things that are not part of my journey. So I saw Humphrey, went down the road a little ways, listening to music, having a good time, singing along. And then I see a doe. And so I looked in my rear view and there was nobody behind me, and it's a country road. So I stopped my car, and then the deer starts going to the woods, and I'm grabbing my phone and just like double hitting that power button so I can get a picture, and I like snap 3 times, and only one photo was actually good. Well, it wasn't good, but you could see that the doe was there, that I did get a picture of a doe. Then I went a little further along and I saw a turtle who had almost completely made it across the street. And I was happy for that turtle. I always like it when they're at the end of their journey across. Not that I will get out of my vehicle and pick them up and put them elsewhere, because I'm not really good at telling whether it's a snapping turtle or a regular turtle, and they kind of scare me sometimes. Because I'm scared of snapping turtles. And some of the other turtles we have are huge, and like I said, I don't know the difference. So it was probably a box turtle. I don't think that there was any water out there, but you never know. So I don't typically like get out of my car and and save them or anything else. But I try not to hit anything, because I'm always like, do no harm. When it came to that frog, Gavin wanted to keep it, and I just said, dude, it's a wild creature. We cannot take care of it in the way that it's meant to be taken care of. He's supposed to be out there and he knows what he's supposed to do. He does what frogs do and he lives where he's supposed to live. He makes sure he's in a spot where he can get everything he needs. And Gavin said, but what if he crosses the street and gets runned over? I love how kids say that, runned over. And I said, dude, if that happens, that happens. That's kind of, we don't know. How do we know that that's not an old frog and he's just going to die anyway? You don't know anything. So, like, when I catch stuff like that to show the kids, I always put it back where I found it. Because I figure that's where it wanted to be and that's where I'm going to put it. Because, trust me, if somebody took me away from my habitat and played with me, and scared the shit out of me for 20 minutes, I'd want to go back where they found me. I'd say, just take me back, please. Yeah, I'm trying to get myself out there because the problem with anxiety, and I know I've said it before, but since nobody watches these, I'm going to say it again because it cannot be said enough. Anxiety will take, and it'll keep taking and keep taking. You have to dig your heels in when it tries to take something new. I mean, that's the thing. It'll just keep on and keep on and keep on if you don't fight it some. Now, I'm not saying you go out there and you fight it every day because that shit's exhausting. But a friend of mine was talking to me about his anxiety experience. And I do believe that what happened to him is the root of a lot of people's anxiety. He had a panic attack. Now, I don't know if the educated make a differentiation, if they notice a difference between an anxiety attack and a panic attack. I do. An anxiety attack is like when you get dizzy as hell and you think you're going to pass out. So you hold your hand down to steady yourself and you wait for it to pass. With an anxiety attack, as long as you do something that makes you feel safe, it will pass. It can be lightened up by certain drugs. A panic attack is like you're standing there with, like the dizziness hits you, like so total full force, like you seriously, you're about to fucking fall down. Maybe you do. You get that feeling and then something bad happens, like you get worse. And when you think it can't get worse, it gets worse. And you're sitting there in the midst of a panic attack, an actual panic attack. There is nothing you can do to help yourself. No, okay, once I'm in my safe zone. No, there is no safe zone when you're having an actual panic attack. You can go home and lay down. You can take a Xanax. A full-blown panic attack will bust right through a Xanax. Now, I've never tried 2 Xanax to go traveling, but I know that a panic attack will blow through one. And I do differentiate the two, that You've got one that is, you just do your breathing, and try to push through. You fan yourself and you just say, okay, I can get through this. I just got to push. I just have to push myself. Once I get to this point, I'll be okay. You know, when you're having an anxiety attack, you know that there is an end to it. You know that if you're in the car, turning around to go home can stop it. The when I had my episode at Walmart not too long ago, that was a full-blown panic attack. I haven't had a whole bunch of those, but they trigger things. Like, that one says you can't go to Walmart. Not this one, at least. And made it to where, I was afraid to drive, period. Afraid I'd go somewhere and not be able to make it. Had a full-blown panic attack in the ER. So now waiting rooms of any kind give me anxiety, where I am not comfortable. I am far from comfortable, but I'm not thinking about killing myself. During a full-fledged panic attack, death seems like a blessing. It's because you get into this whole, like, why does this happen to me? Why me? Why is this going on? And then the time before the ER, I was traveling somewhere. I was going to go somewhere, and just, I don't know if it was the dead cat I saw on the road or what. I don't know what triggers a major panic attack. But I know that a major panic attack, you don't want to feel that. That is the worst. And anxiety, it's just the build up to that. It's that feeling of, what if this is the bad thing? Like, oh, I better stop, because if I continue, this anxiety is going to get worse, and then I'm going to be in full-blown panic mode. And so, you have to read yourself, because I'm not saying push yourself till you get to that point, because some days you have no control. There's no fixing it that day. There's no, okay, I'll push through, because that day that I had an episode at Walmart, I pushed through. That was the wrong day to push through because I wasn't strong enough to handle that, basically two panic attacks. And with regular anxiety, I might be nervous going to the place, but once I'm walking around, I might be jittery, but not feeling the upset. And then I'm fine after that, after I've walked around a little while. And I did not get that when I was at Walmart that day. And so by the time I got out to my car, it was like, no, this is not working. And then I was like, well, you're hungry, so eat this. And I started to eat something, and I was like, no, I can't even swallow this. I couldn't even swallow it. I do this weird thing. I don't eat the last bite of something sometimes. Sometimes I do finish things, but there are times when I'll be chewing that last bite and I'll think, nope. If I swallow this last bite, if I swallow it, I'm going to be sick. So I'll spit it out. I do this at least once a day with something. Never candy bars, though. I don't waste the candy bars. But when it's regular food, and it's just like this anxiety that tells me, if you swallow that food, that last bite that's in your mouth, you're going to be sick. And then I get really nervous as I'm chewing it. And then it's like, no, I have to spit it out, So I choose not to fight that one, because I figure one less bite of food, I can probably stand to put the fork down. You know, one less bite of food isn't going to kill me. But I do need to be able to get places. So, I figure maybe giving in at that point is not such a bad deal. That I give in to the anxiety for that last bite of food. Like, well, still, I won't be hungry. I'll be fine. Excuse me. Yeah, that was a yawn. So I have talked enough today, but today was a good day. And I hope if anybody's watching this, I really wish I was the only person who had anxiety. I mean, people I hate, I wouldn't wish this on. I don't know that I would wish it on pedophiles because it's just too cruel. But if anybody watches this and they have anxiety, know that you're not alone. We're all a little different, but we all know that hopeless, helpless, powerless feeling and the grip that it can have on certain parts of your life, if not your whole life. So you're not alone. I encourage everybody who suffers from things like that to look up on Facebook some anxiety groups. Granted, sometimes you come across some real buttheads on there, but for the most part, most of the people there are sympathetic and they know what you're going through and they know something that works for them that may not be in any book that you've ever read about anxiety. And that just happens to be the thing that will work for you. So there you go. I hope everybody has a good night and a good day tomorrow, too. Good night.